It's a great day. My name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue-focused late-night show in the country where we are on a mission. And our mission really is to inspire. Our mission is to empower. And our mission is to provide you, that's right, you, the hardworking entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute the big vision you have, the big vision, I should say, for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, we have the one and only Brandon Powell, who's here to talk about the 5 secrets to increase the value of your brand. What's going on, Brandon? How are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for being on the show, man. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Now, before we get into the value of the brand, can we just define brand? Because some folks are listening might say, well, Shay, is the brand the logo? I don't know. We're going to find out. Is the brand the colors that I'm doing every day? I don't know. We're going to find out. So what is your definition of branding so we can all be on the same page before we talk about how to increase the value of something, please?
You know what? The way I would define it is I have to juxtapose it against marketing. That kind of helps give a little bit of clarity. And so marketing is dealing with the frequency in which you're engaging the market frequency. Branding is dealing with the quality in which you're seen. And so when people are talking about branding, it should be, so if you show up to a business function and you are, posting on social media, you got things on your website and you're doing a great job of marketing, but the quality of it doesn't look as good. You're doing a great job with marketing, but branding is how you show up and the quality in which you present. That's how I would define it.
Well, if that's the case, it seems, well, I guess here's the question. Why do entrepreneurs struggle these days? I mean, it sounds like people show up and they're like, well, I'm showing up. I'm everywhere. So I guess I'm marketing. So here's the question. What's one of the biggest challenges, or challenges, I should say, you can have 2 or 3, that entrepreneurs face as it relates to just branding? And can we put in 2 different buckets? And ladies and gentlemen, he can handle this. Can we talk to the first who are new? They're just getting started. And they're like, okay, can you help me out, Shay? And then we'll talk to the folks who are experienced. They're like, well, I've got a brand, but I'm transitioning. I've got multiple brands. But let's first talk to the people who are like, hey, I'm getting started, less than 3 years. Why are people struggling getting their brand out there, understanding how to do it?
To be honest, Shay, they both have the same problem. They both have the same problem. The business who's been in the market and have experience longer, they've got old habits. I'll tell you the reason why it's difficult for me to walk up to a company and say, hey, let's talk about your branding and talk about how we're going to impact it and make improvements. It's not something they're going to talk about or they will think is an issue. One of the reasons why is because most businesses, whether you're new or experienced, they don't know the difference between your personal brand and your company brand. What I mean by that is the way you interact with people in your personal brand, how you treat people, you have good character, that reputation, it precedes you in the marketplace. And so if you show up to places, you typically will get more business done because your personal brand has so much equity. The problem is that it can deceive you to thinking that your business is doing well, when in reality, everything about the business is successful because it's tied to the actual leader. And that's not good long term, because if the company brand is underperforming, then when that leader transitions, it's going to create confusion because they don't know why the business is not doing as well, because their business cards and website didn't look good, but they didn't think they needed to fix it. It's because the personal brand had a lot of equity and there needed to be a transfer of assets to that company brand to bring its value up. And a lot of times companies don't even know that that's part of the problem.
So I'm clear, and I might be the one on the slow bus here. There's a personal brand, and then I'm hearing there's a business brand. Are those 2 different brands, or am I confused? And then, since we do sales, obviously, the number of folks say, well, I've got a different name for my product. So I guess my question is, clarify again, what's the difference between the personal brand, the business brand, and then if they have a product that just does its own thing, is that a brand as well?
No, great question. So think about the personal brand as the actual leader. It's the person. The company brand is dealing with the actual logo, that's the separate identity of the company. A lot of times, I will tell you this statistic: 75% of the time, clients that come to us with pre-existing artwork, it's done wrong. You say, well, that's a high percentage. Well, the reason it's so high is because they don't even know that it's a problem. They're losing about 30% revenue. But if you keep interacting as a person in all these rooms, that personal brand is carrying the weight. But the company brand, think about it this way. If you left your business cards on a table and the cards are underperforming, they don't look good, they're not professional, more than likely people are not going to pick up that card. Yet, if they met you in person and you turn out to be a great person, very thoughtful, kind, and considerate, that carries some of that weight. So what we focus on is making sure that people see you before they see you. It should not be so codependent upon the person being present. And a lot of times businesses lose money because they're not able to control the first interaction with their company, and their logos and branding are subpar, and people don't even engage enough to start a sales process.
You know, part of our audience, a good number of our audience are dualpreneurs. They work a full-time job and they're a full-time entrepreneur. They're making an impact for their family and for their community. And they're involved in a lot of other things, by the way. Take care of their kids. They're caregivers. They're involved in other activities. So to the person that's busy, we're going to get to find out who he is. I know some of you have already read the bio. I get it. Some of you are looking over his shoulder and seeing business therapy. You're looking at, I get it. We're going to get to who this guy is in a moment. But if you could, for the person that's very, very busy and say, hey, I've got a lot going on, but I've got this business. What's the 1, 2, or 3 things they could do to start adding value to their brand? And then we'll get into your backstory and who you are. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get into that. But some of you, you're like, okay, Shay, I got it. But what are 2 or 3 things that he recommends that we start doing so we can elevate the value of the brand?
You know, ironically, I'm going to advocate for the personal side. If you're just getting started, learn how to do what I call see people. Don't look at them as a product. Don't look at them as a sale. If you're just getting started up, I do not want you to have paralysis of analysis, thinking you've got to research everything, read all the books. We sometimes, as entrepreneurs, we have to build it while we fly it. And so focus on treating people well, knowing your product, and learning how to see people. That's the first thing. Also, get in touch with an actual business consultant. Bounce some ideas off of them. Make that investment. Because here's the thing. If you get going with creating a lot of marketing material and you've done some investing in an area and you're not sure if it's actually right, you don't want to have to correct that later. Here's a principle that I teach. Cheap can be expensive and free can be dangerous.
Say that one more time. I like that.
Cheap can be expensive and free can be dangerous.
Man, you can't leave us hanging on that, man. You gotta elaborate. We're just all on our edge. How can you just leave us just hanging just right there? Ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to allow that to happen, not on our watch. So expound on that if you would.
Sometimes we want to, and I'm guilty of it as well. I find the up and coming business and I want to give them a chance. Cheap can be expensive because what you gain in lower price, you lose in competency. And with free being dangerous, a lot of times the people that will provide a service for you for free, it's very difficult to hold them accountable because you feel obligated to their benevolence. They're doing it for you for free. So it's not very comfortable to hold them accountable to creating the vision the way you want it because they're already doing you a favor, more or less. And so they typically go slower. Is usually not rendered in the best way, and competency is also sacrificed. And so my recommendation is do your research, get with someone that actually is competent. And if there's a cost to it, there's a cost to everything. Either you're going to pay in the money or you're going to pay in fixing the mistake.
But either way, you're going to pay.
You're going to pay.
Now, I know y'all wonder who is this guy. Take a moment, if you would, tell us the backstory. They want to know, who are you? And more importantly, what was the defining moment in your life that you knew that doing branding and business strategy was going to be your jam?
You know, I've been an entrepreneur for about 17 years, and it has been full of a lot of triumphs and valleys. And the market has taught me how to serve them. I literally have been in the field and just not knowing what I was doing, but I listened. And so I started off just taking t-shirt orders for churches. That's how it started. You fast forward, I started, having the market ask different things of me. Hey, do you do this? And I'm like, no, I don't do that. Then I thought about it. It kept hearing different people ask the same question. I say, you know what? I think I should implement those things. And so where it is now is not how it started. A lot of failure, a lot of lessons learned, and that's what led me to where it is now. It's the market that taught me how to serve them. We typically focus on being a full service company because most people like connecting with relationships. They don't want to go to one company for the logo and then have to go to another company for the website because you're having to start over with relationships. And a lot of times those two companies don't communicate the same language. And so you're likely to have something compromising your branding.
Okay. And when you first got started on this journey, how did you transition over to branding though? Because I heard the business part, but then it sounds like you started anchoring, and there was an anchor you received, which is, you know what? This is one of the core competencies that's needed. So I guess my question is, you had branding you was doing, you had marketing you was doing, there was sales you were doing, there was other business pieces sounds like you was even doing fulfillment. Why branding? I mean, why did it all come back to, look, branding has to be core to the business success from your view of the world?
That's a great point. I will tell you this. It started from a mistake. That's how I got inspired. The mistake was when I was fulfilling those t-shirt orders, I would talk to the client and I realized I've got to get the design brief and I've got to know my timelines and deadlines. At the time, I had a graphic designer who would help me with the design fulfillment. Well, I would get done talking to the client and I say, hey, client, we'll have that design ready for you by Thursday. Well, I go to call the graphic designer, and guess what I get? Nothing. He didn't answer the phone. He didn't answer emails, didn't answer text message. So I learned quickly, if I'm going to partner with a vendor, there's some criteria that I need to, find and fit. Fast forward, that happened so often that I decided to implement the skill for myself. I said, I'm going to go back to school and learn graphic design. I researched a certification process. I didn't want to do the 4-year because I've already done that in college. And I wanted to get an accelerated program. When I did that, I fell in love again with design. I've always loved drawing. And so it was a natural transition. From there, that's where the branding started, because my mindset is I don't want to just solve the symptom. I want to deal with the root. And so branding for me is design, but I care about solving the root issue. It's kind of almost like a medical thought process.
Yeah. What do you enjoy most about what you're doing these days? You seem to be happy.
I enjoy listening to the stories. I take pride in the fact that, if I step into a client's world, because that's how I view it, I get the privilege of stepping into their world. There's so much that I can see that they may not have known was visible. I do something called a skill inventory assessment, where I make them tell me what vocationally they've done since grade school. And what they don't realize is by telling me those things, I can learn all of the dormant skills they're not using, and it can turn into more revenue. So I really enjoy stepping into my client's world. I tell them, throw up on me, because I'm going to take that chaos and make music out of it, make it beautiful for them, because it may be distorted at first, but we can create some organization to it.
And you mentioned story. Can you tie the two together? I heard they're telling their story, and then I heard you say you can make music out of that. Talk about making the music out of that. How does that give us that second leg to it, if you can?
Great point. So I would say when clients come to me, they typically are they've hit a ceiling. They're fatigued, or they're confused, or they need clarity. And so a lot of times they're very gifted too. We work with highly gifted clients who have multiple businesses, multiple projects, and their challenge is they don't know which one to focus on first or second or third. And so we helped to take those things that are so random, and by listening, we're able to translate what should be the priority. And that's where the chaos comes in, because it's chaotic to them, not to me. I hear it, and as I'm listening to it, believe it or not, if a client talked to me today and say, hey, I need a logo done, we're not even going to talk about a logo. I'm going to meet with them and step into their world. Well, ironically, As I listen to their world, I'm actually creating their logo at the same time.
Certainly a gift, man. Thanks for sharing. You know, we have a segment here called Today is My January 1st. Now, for those folks that are listening, tune in every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know you wait for this magical moment where you get to say those words. Today is my January 1st. Doesn't that feel so good? And for all the new folks, we want to first say thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it, by the way. Please pay this message forward. Today is my January 1st is our personal mantra at the Happy Entrepreneur Show. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means the past, no matter how bright that past is or how dark and gloomy that past is, the past no longer equals the future. And so my question to Brandon on the other side is, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what do you hear? And then number two, what was a setback that you had to bounce back from, man? And what was the lesson that you learned?
Oh, man. You know, we don't have time to cover all of the setbacks. That would be a plural upon plural response. So when I hear January 1st, I hear new beginnings, but I deliberately challenge that because I don't have New Year's resolutions. What I do is, years ago, I started this process where every 6 to 9 months, I give my own company a performance review. Employers do it for their employees, but we don't do it for our own companies. And so we do an assessment on our company if our value has increased and determine, are we worthy of a raise? And so that 6 to 9 months started whenever I did. And so that may fall into February or March because the previous months dictated that. And so I've been doing that for years, and I enjoy the fact that I'm being deliberate about how I can grow as a result.
Man, you know, when you give yourself a review, I'm just curious. Ladies and gentlemen, I had nothing to do what he's talking about, but I'm curious. Does that a review, is that based on the revenue that came in? Is it based on the project that was completed? Is it based on new client enrollment? Is it retention? I'm just curious. I never did. Isn't that kind of cool? I mean, think about it. You could do, y'all should connect with him. He's going to tell you how to do all that in a minute, but think about that. If you did a business review. So I'm just curious. I know you can't give away all the goodies and secrets here, but we got to ask the question. Can you give us some idea on some areas you're looking at? Because that's the first time I've ever heard that. Well, of course, it's you on here, and the first time we ever had this conversation. But I'm curious, man. What are some of the components you look for? Because in sales, we might say, you know, number of revenue. We might say new customers. Might say retention. What are some of the, I guess you call them key performance indicators? I don't know what y'all call it in branding, but what are some things you look at, man?
Yeah, KPIs is a good word. You know, Shay, because I like you, I'm gonna give some of the secret sauce. I'm gonna give some of it.
Just me, and the several thousand folks who are eavesdropping on our conversation. Y'all can just eavesdrop.
Yeah. Just don't tell nobody. So I would say this: there's several things. So we not only do it for ourselves. All right, and I'll say this again. One of the key performance indicators is a term that I call your conversion inventory. Let me explain it this way. Think about your last 10 clients that you've onboarded. You see it as 10 clients. What I actually want to pay attention to is the downline. So let's say at client number 3, they are responsible for 4 other clients below, kind of like network marketing. And so you want to pay attention to how many times do you have existing clients create new business for you. I study that very closely. In fact, we take that data and we create something called our loyal 7, our clients who have great tendencies of naturally driving business to our company, and we go to great efforts to do things for them. Secondly, we pay attention to your word of mouth and referrals ratio. A good healthy sign of a business is when you have 45 to 60% of your business coming from word of mouth and referrals. I'll explain the difference because there's a difference to me. Word of mouth is a transfer of value, but that doesn't mean that person is actually a client. They just have admired your business from afar, but they haven't actually engaged in the business. Now, referrals is someone who perceives the value and they're transferring the experience. You want to pay attention to the patterns. How would you know this? you want to create in your onboarding process a way to track that. So after 9 months of doing that, and there's a few other things, I can't give away all the secret sauce. There's about 10 different things, I gave them. Then you can decide, are we worthy? Have we become more valuable in the market? And can we give ourselves a raise?
I love it, man. Thanks for sharing. You know, one of the questions I love to ask is when we have time, and we do now, which is, what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given? And I'll frame it for the audience to let them know you've had many mentors along this journey of life. I'm sure some you've met in person, maybe some you've only watched on video, and maybe others you read their books. But if you had to reach out and say, you know, Shay, here's one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given that I want to share with the audience, what would it be and why?
You know, one that really resonates with me that I'm just bubbling over thinking about. It's a quote from Jim Rohn. I know everybody pretty much in business has been touched by Jim Rohn and his wisdom. He says a quote, life responds to seed, not need. And that hits me in times when the week isn't going as well or the day isn't going as well. He said, if you really want to reap, then that means you really need to sow. Life is not obligated to give you anything unless you sow seed. And so that's a very powerful quote that I take with me each day.
Fantastic. What do you do for fun when you're not out saving the world?
Man, I love to do everything. I grew up as a kid. We were outside until, the street light came on. So my mom, I'm the oldest of five. So we did exploring out of necessity because she didn't want us in the house. So I love bowling. I love playing basketball, going to different events, sporting events. I'm learning a little bit about cigars. I'm a rookie. And one new thing that I've started to pick up on is I love going to the speakeasies. I didn't know about that concept. It's something I really enjoy, going to those places.
And for those folks who never heard of speakeasies, can you take a moment just to kind of tell them what it is so they kind of have some idea?
Absolutely. So a speakeasy is related to during the Prohibition time when alcohol was prohibited. And so what they would do is have, in a very subtle way, inside of a place of business, they would have a secret door that in order to access it, you had to put in a code or you had to say some kind of phrase. And when you would go through that door, they had a whole setup for alcohol and social time and lounging. And so they brought that concept back, at least in Texas, as far as I know. And it's really cool. There's some really nice places. Usually the lighting is very low. It's usually more kind of relaxed. And it's a great environment. Really good environment for grown adult relaxation time.
Oh, that's kind of cool, man. I didn't know that. See, we learn something every single day about folks. This is cool. As we come down the home stretch, two-part question as we close out. Number one, what type of clients are your firm looking to work with these days, if any? I don't know if your firm's booked or not. And number two, how can folks best connect with you? How can they stay in this conversation over and beyond the time that you and I have right now?
So the kind of clients we're looking for are highly gifted clients who are looking for an accelerator, meaning they're fatigued and they see us as a resource to get them where they're trying to go faster. We typically draw in clients who are very professional. This isn't their first time doing business. It may be a new business. They're highly gifted and they're looking for a resource. They want to use us to get done faster and get out of their way. Those are the kind of clients that we typically are working with. Now, to get in touch, we would encourage you to do a simple business health screening. I'm going to make you feel like you're going to the doctor. When you engage with our company, you may say, hey, look, I need business cards. I've got news for you. That is a symptom to me because there may be something else connected to that I want to explore. And so we're going to have you fill out a business profile assessment and other assessments to help understand the full layout. If you went to a doctor and you said, hey, I've got a cough, you would be upset with that doctor if the very next statement he said was, okay, you got a cough? Let me write you a prescription for pneumonia. You would be disappointed because they didn't go further. Why do businesses get done like that every day? We decide to not do that.
I love it, man. Well, let me say thanks so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show, man. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in, because without you, there is no show. Okay, so we appreciate you showing up. We appreciate you sharing this message, paying it forward to other folks out there. And every night, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I never get tired of reminding you that, you know, you're someone special. You really are. You've got this superpower deep inside of you. You're making a difference in the world. You're a game changer. You're a world changer. You're someone out there who's going to make a difference for someone else. So keep doing what you're doing, because I believe that today is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason alone, your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name still hasn't changed. Still Che Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. We'll make some good things out. We connect again next time. God bless, and we wish you success. Thanks a lot, Brandon. We out here, everybody. Peace.